Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Vivek Ramaswamy wants to be your president. Who is he?
I think we need to put merit back into America in every sphere of our lives. I mean, merit in who gets into this country. Let's start with that, okay? I think more people like my parents can be a good thing for this country. But people whose first act of entering this country as a law-breaking one, we should say a hard no to that. Not just who gets in, but also who gets ahead. Decimating affirmative action. It has been a national cancer. One of my top priorities will be to end affirmative action in every sphere of American life. And it's not just meritocracy and who gets ahead.
Ending affirmative action.
Yes.
I mean, our whole government is based on that idea.
Well, the funny thing, Tucker, is this would be an easy thing for a president to do. Lyndon Johnson issued an executive order that requires anyone who does business with the U.S. government, that covers over 20% of the U.S. workforce, to adopt race-based quota systems. Any Republican president since Lyndon Johnson could have taken a pen and crossed that out. We haven't done it yet. I think that's the kind of courage we're going to need to muster to go after these sacred cows, from woke religion in the form of affirmative action to this new climate religion, which is completely shackling the American economy and culture. We need to take the most sacred cows of these alternative secular religions, and I'm sorry to say this, take them to the slaughterhouse, because that's what it's going to take for this national revival where we stop apologizing for what it means to be American.
Poor John Bolton, no matter what he does, he gets no recognition. He's like Rodney Dangerfield. I get no respect. He declared his candidacy for president, and nobody in the mainstream media cares or covers it. It's as if he doesn't exist, because now they refer to 3 GOP candidates: Donald Trump, Nikki Haley, and now Vivek Ramaswamy. And I have to admit, I had never heard of Vivek Ramaswamy until last night. It was with Tucker Carlson that he made it clear that he is running for president. Now, some sources cite he made this announcement at CPAC, and again, that he kind of hinted at it, and nobody really picked up on it. He's got a very impressive announcement video, but I can tell you this from somebody who has worked in marketing, advertising, media. There's one problem. As well produced as his video is, as articulate as he is, and he makes a great case that before we can put, quote, America first, we have to define what America is. And he's really against the whole concept, and he made it clear that on day one he will roll back affirmative action. Yeah, good luck with that. That he believes in a merit-based America, and that we have so focused on diversity that we have forgotten the things that actually unite us. And on those points, he is absolutely 100% right. And never once in the video did he mention his own name. And by that I mean he didn't say, "Hi, my name is Vivek Ramaswamy, and I would like to be your president." There was, and there's a reason for that. And I'm going to tell you some reasons now why he's non-electable. Number one, he's an unknown. Well, Donald Trump was an unknown. No, Donald Trump was not a career politician, but Donald Trump was known. He had name recognition. People knew the name Trump. The name Trump had been in the forefront of America, in particular business and pop culture, since the late 1970s. So the name Trump had immediate brand name recognition, if you will. Vivek Ramaswamy, I guarantee you, 99.5% of America never heard of this guy's name until 24 hours ago. So he's unknown. He's not just unknown in name, he's unknown in, well, what is he going to do? Right now, he's got great platitudes. We have to be careful that he is not the GOP version of Andrew Yang. And what do I mean by that? Andrew Yang was another dark horse candidate, came out of nowhere, and he immediately sparked some interest among young progressive Democrats because he had this idea, the basic guaranteed human income, and he was supposedly an entrepreneur and a millionaire, and he had this idea of paying people $1,000 a month for, basically being alive, that there would be some type of guaranteed income that everybody would have, no matter whether they had a job, lost a job, etc., etc. The problem was when you really began to break down Andrew Yang, you found out that he had some ideas that weren't even remotely based in reality. And then he did a campaign event where he's like on his knees and his campaign staff are like shooting Cheese Whiz into his mouth. And finally, his campaign manager comes along and kind of whisks him away, like, "What are you doing? You want to be president of the United States?" And these are the visual images that the American people are going to see tonight when they tune in the evening news. What were you thinking? So eventually, he got crushed. He was gone. That was the end of the Yang experiment. Then he goes to New York City and he's going to start his own political movement. And that didn't go anywhere, especially when, he went on all the morning talk shows declaring that, America was so divided and so divisive, and he wanted to be like a giant blanket, like a therapy blanket, a weighted therapy blanket, and bring us all together. Yeah, okay. So nobody was buying that. My concern would be that Vivek Ramaswamy is kind of like that, and kind of like Barack Obama. Now, Barack Obama was an incredibly charismatic candidate. Hillary Rodham Clinton didn't know how to handle him. And what captured America was not just the fact that he was a man of color, first African American to be president. He was kind of like this blank canvas. We had some ideas, some of us did, of exactly what he was going to do, and we looked at what he had done when he was in the state legislature in Illinois, and we took a look at what he had done while he had been a U.S. senator, and we had a fairly good idea, based on some of his associations, who he ran with and who he was influenced by, that what an Obama administration might look like. But the problem was, for the vast majority of Americans, Barack Obama, because of the way he spoke in platitudes or in sound bites, well, he could be anything you want him to be. He could be progressive. He could be a moderate. He could even sound a little bit conservative. He could be anything you wanted him to be. Let the imagination run wild. And that was what America hired. What they, as an individual, thought he was, not as what he actually was. And that's a problem I see here with Vivek Ramaswamy. I'm not saying he's not a conservative with conservative ideals. The problem is we don't know. See, with Donald Trump, he is a known commodity. You know exactly what you're going to get. And yes, sometimes he says or tweets things that I wish he hadn't worded the way he did. But he is Donald Trump, and you know you're going to get what you're going to get. And right now, the shape this country is in, we need a strong, decisive CEO. Now, what Vivek is proposing, on day one, he'll do away with affirmative action. Yeah, good luck with that. But I get what he's saying, and I agree that America has got to get back to being a merit-based, that you get rewarded for hard work, you get rewarded for achievement, end all of the woke nonsense. And he has written a couple of books on that. But the reality is, he's unknown, and so we really don't know what he'll do. It'll be interesting, and I want to make note of this. If you watch his video where he declares his candidacy, and he talks about the things that he wants to do and what he thinks America ought to be, and every conservative, whether you're a never Trumper or a Trumper, everybody would watch that video and nod their head and go, yeah, absolutely, yeah. But number one, does he have the ability to make any of that happen? He's articulate. He is a man of color, and so for some of the old GOP guard, hey, we're like hip, cool, and edgy now. But here's what I've noticed. Despite all of his listing of his what would basically be called right-wing conservative ideas, the media is not dogpiling him. The media is not excoriating him. Why? He's got Donald Trump ideas. Why is the media not excoriating him? Are they thinking, hey, this is kind of a young, charismatic guy. This might be a guy that might actually be able to steal the Trump message away from Trump, because we certainly know they don't like Trump and they don't want Trump. And then if he starts to gain some momentum, then yank the rug out from under him and just go after him for being, a right-wing lunatic and just absolutely thrash and trash him. And does this guy have the ability to push back? Has he got the temperament of a Donald Trump or an Elon Musk? But I just think it's interesting that right now he's being given a media pass. And they're not speaking of him at all negatively. I think what they're waiting to see is if he gains any type of real grassroots type momentum. Is there actually a natural enthusiastic support that comes behind him now, going, wow, Vivek wants to be president, let's support him. Again, his biggest problem is nobody's ever heard of him. And I will say this, and you can get all over me, Pastor, you're being hard and miserable. His name. It has nothing to do with his ethnic background, his heritage, but there is a key in advertising and marketing. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. And do you remember the problems people had during 2020 trying to figure out how to pronounce Mayor Pete's last name? Buttigieg, Buttigieg, Buttigieg. And I'm not even talking about those of us like me who purposely thrash and trash his last name just because it's funny. I'm talking about the mainstream media that were for him couldn't figure out how to pronounce his last name. And I'm telling you, the name, especially when it comes to promotion and advertising, it needs to be something simple, something that people remember. People remember the name Trump. They remember the name Reagan. They remember initials like JFK. They remember Clinton. They simple. Vivek Ramaswamy. He's going to have an issue with the name, and I'm not being mean. I'm just being realistic. That is the reality. There are a lot of things that he stands for. I am absolutely for. He's against CRT. He has articulated very well what it is and why it is destructive, in particular in our educational institutions. He is right that affirmative action has destroyed merit, and I like a lot of where he's coming from. But that's only because I like what he said. I don't know what he's actually going to do. Donald Trump, I know exactly what I'm going to get. And he did a good job. And in my opinion, he should get 4 more years.